Today I'm going to talk about how to avoid being manipulated by a narcissist. Now, obviously the first thing is to avoid them, if at all possible. But if your boss is a narcissist or you have a narcissist in your family, that's not always possible. Sometimes we just have to deal with them. The next thing is to know your fundamental human rights, because a narcissist will continually step over your boundaries if you let them. You have the right to express your feelings, opinions, and wants. You have the right to set your own priorities. You have the right to say no without feeling guilty. You have the right to get what you pay for. You have the right to have opinions that are different to others. And you have the right to take care of and protect yourself from being threatened physically, emotionally, mentally, or sexually. And you have the right to create your own happy and healthy life. When dealing with a narcissist, avoid personalization and self-blame. You are not the problem. Okay, they will make you feel that you are the problem. They will always deflect blame onto somebody else, but you're not to blame. Consider your relationship with the narcissist and ask yourself these questions. Am I being treated with genuine respect? Are this person's expectations and demands reasonable? Is it a two-way or a one-way relationship? And how do I feel about this relationship in general? Now, if the answer to the first three questions is no, and you don't feel good about this relationship, then try and extricate yourself from it as soon as possible. Because relationships with narcissists tend to just get worse and worse and worse. They're good at coercive control, and they tend to become abusers, and the abuse tends to get worse over time. You can put the focus back on them by asking some probing questions. As I said before, they will make it all about you. Everything is your fault. Okay, so try and turn it back onto them. For instance, you can say, does this sound reasonable to you? Or, does what you want from me sound fair? Or do I have a say in this? Are you asking me or telling me? What do I get out of this? And are you really expecting me to do whatever it is they want you to do? Now, how much effect this has on the narcissist depends on where on the scale of narcissistic characteristics they are. Once they've got a really serious personality disorder, then they will just dismiss your questions and they will insist on getting their own way. When that happens, you can use time to your advantage. You can simply say, I'll think about it. And that gives you a little bit of space to consider what you're going to do. You can take your time to evaluate the request and to decide whether you want to negotiate a more equitable arrangement or whether you'd be better off just saying no. And remember, you can say no. You have the right to say no without feeling guilty. You just need to be able to say no in a diplomatic way. And that's just a learned skill. But first of all, you just need to know that you can say no. You don't have to do what they want you to do. Okay? Important to know that. If they won't take no for an answer and they insist on violating your boundaries, you can set consequences. So you can say, if you do this, this is what happens. Or if I do this for you, this is what happens. Being able to identify and assert consequences is one of the most important skills you can have for standing down someone who's trying to manipulate you. It will give them pause and it will turn them towards respect for you. A psychological manipulator becomes a bully when they threaten or harm someone. So the thing with bullying is that a bully will always pick on someone that they perceive to be weak. So the more compliant and passive you are with a narcissist, the more likely they are to bully and abuse you. So the sooner you can draw your boundaries clearly and stand up for your own rights, the better. The longer you leave it with you being pliable to their manipulation, the worse it's going to get. And remember, you cannot change a narcissist. You are not going to be the one hero who can finally turn this person around. Don't fall into a narcissist's fantasy. Particularly in a romantic relationship, they are very, very good at being really charming. Okay? They're so self-confident and their visions are sometimes so grand that you get this feeling that if you're going to be around them, then it's going to fulfill some need in you to be important. And I know Sogyal Rinpoche had this feeling. You know, he inspired us with this vision of enlightenment, you know, that we could get in one lifetime, you know, and it was inspiring. And you felt like, yes, you know, if I'm with this person, this can happen. But that was all a lie. It was a fantasy. It didn't happen. Didn't matter how hard you worked at it. We can easily feel that being around them will fulfill our inner longings to be important, to feel that we're part of something really big. But it's a fantasy, and it's a dangerous one at that, because your needs will not be met. It's all about you meeting their needs. They can't even empathize with you or admit that you have any needs. And they will treat you exactly the same way as they treat other people. They'll try and make you believe that you are special, that you're somehow different, that you are the one for them, that you are the Dakini, the wisdom incarnation who's going to do, you know, wonderful things if only you'll sleep with them. You know, that's the Tibetan Buddhist line. But it's not true. You will be discarded in the same way that everyone else will be discarded. As soon as you are of no use to a narcissist, they will just cut you off. Okay, that's the way they are. It's important not to make excuses for their bad behaviour. Ignoring it, denying it, will not make it go away. We did that with Sogyal. We saw him verbally abuse people. If you went to a retreat, you saw him verbally abusing people. Now, we were told that this was him showing his love because by abusing people, he was speeding up their process to enlightenment. This was the story that we were told, and we accepted it because we wanted to excuse the behaviour, because what we were getting out of the situation, that was so strong that we just ignored that. You know, and we accepted what we were told, at least to some degree. Of course, they didn't call it abuse. They called it tough love. They called it crazy wisdom. But really, it was just a way of excusing the bad behaviour. A way to make everyone feel comfortable with that kind of behaviour. The other thing that happens in a narcissistic relationship is they will be so incredibly loving to you. It's called love bombing. You'll have these times when you're made to feel so special and so loved. And at other times you'll be completely abused. And so people tend to excuse the abuse, excuse the ranting and raving and anger as being, oh, well, they just felt this, or it was just that. And you excuse it because when the love is there, it just feels so wonderful. But the love is fake in a narcissist. Okay, it's all about what they can get from you. So rather than falling into the delusions of a narcissist, you need to focus on the things you want for yourself. Another way to look at disarming a narcissist is to control your emotions. As soon as you get emotional, they've got you, and you're easily manipulated when you're emotional. And particularly because they'll throw stuff onto you and they'll always try to make it feel that it's your fault. So if you get defensive and emotional, then you've lost the thread of whatever it was that you were trying to communicate with this person, whatever was actually going on. So you need to really control your emotions as much as you possibly can. Don't do anything to feed their ego. So don't fall into the praise. Just don't fall into the adulation. Don't take responsibility for their emotions. This is a really important one. And if you have any codependent tendencies, then you will probably take responsibility for their emotions. A codependent relationship with a narcissist is really, really destructive. So it's really important that we recognize that somebody's emotions are their responsibility. They're getting emotional about a situation because of the way they are, not because of the situation. So the same situation can make one person angry and not disturb another person at all. So you may have done something that makes them angry, but the fact that they're angry is not your fault. Okay, the fact that they're angry is the way they're seeing what you've done. Okay, and I've seen soggy or angry at people for something that they perceive as being really wrong, and it's just petty. It's like, oh, you put the glass in the wrong spot. Okay, he wants the glass here, and you put it there. And so then this whole nightmare of abuse comes out because you didn't put the glass in exactly the right spot. Okay, now that anger is not the fault of the person who put the glass slightly 6 inches away from where he wanted it. Okay, but if you take that on as, oh, it's your fault that he's feeling that way, then it gets really, really messy. So remember, someone else's emotions is not your fault. Okay, they're responsible for their own emotions. And I think that's one of the ways that people can manipulate you. I mean, I grew up in a family where emotional manipulation was common. So I've had to learn not to fall into that, and just tell myself, no, that's not my fault that you feel that way. Your emotions, they're your problem. Don't use ultimatums with a narcissist because they don't work, and don't give them any negative attention. It's like when you're bringing up a kid and they behave badly. If you only give them attention when they're bad, then they'll just keep doing it because they love attention. So give them attention when they're doing the right thing. Give them attention when they're behaving the way you want them to behave. Okay? Don't give them attention when they're doing the wrong thing because they'll just do more of it. Because what they want is your attention. So that's all I've got to share with you today. And as I said, I'm not a psychologist, but I've done my research. I've got my notes, and I hope that you will take this into your knowledge base, because you never know when you're going to come across a narcissist, and they are dangerous and difficult people. And I hope that you never fall in love with a narcissist. Be careful. If you meet someone who seems too good to be true, yeah, they probably are. Be careful. Don't make excuses for their bad behaviour. It won't go away. And I think the last thing to remember is that we can't change narcissists, unfortunately. They really will accept that there's anything wrong with them, and they won't apologise. That's what the psychologists say. So, yeah, I hope you don't have to deal with one. And if you do, then good luck. And stay cool. And that's it for today. Bye.